Hi guys, welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. It is time for our second analysis, episode 2, The Expanse. I'm here with Jack, and before we get kick-started, we're going to be starting on a bit of a sour note. Now, Jack and I usually have this schedule where, I'll play it on a Wednesday, Jack will play it on the Thursday because he got conned out of, the pre-order being on Xbox. And then we would hopefully record it on a Thursday. Now, it's actually a Saturday today at the time of this recording. Jack, why was that, mate?
Because TellTale screwed up again, basically. It's remarkable that we're recording it right now. But no, basically, so it was meant to come out Thursday. And, on Thursday I booted it up, I looked and it still said open store. And I was thinking, what the hell's going on? I thought it was going to automatically download. It didn't, and I started looking on the internet, and I was almost grateful that other people were experiencing the problem. It wasn't just me.
Misery loves company.
And again, I didn't actually play it till today. So not only did I pay more, because in the last episode we talked about it, and I sort of let it go. But now that this has happened, it's almost like resurfacing that a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling a bit conned out here. It's not the greatest, relaunch for Telltale games. Because I booted it up, couldn't play it. Same as on Friday, and I played it today. So, thankfully I avoided spoilers and stuff. But you pay that money to get the game, 24 hours early, which I didn't get. And even when you are supposed to get it, I didn't get it. So, not a good start at all. Sorry. Not a good start at all.
No, for sure. I really felt for you, and honestly, it sucked for me as well because, the moment we finish these games, mate, all we want to do is compare our choices, and I had to keep my mouth shut for 2 days. And I felt bad, and I was looking at the social media, and TellTale were putting out all these statements, and they were still putting up Facebook posts. They were getting absolutely trashed in the comments box. Then they were trying to comment all these suggestions and fixes, and they weren't working, and they were getting even more scolded. And it was quite horrible. I'm like, TellTale spent a lot of time out, they're back in, and you almost would have hoped that, them cutting the red tape would have been a lot more glamorous and positive, but it has been met with a lot of disdain, so, we do have to highlight that. But nonetheless, like you said, yeah, it was an enjoyable episode. What we're going to do is mate, we're going to just talk through all the different choices. I've got my stream up, so... Khan's surgery, we found the laser crystal in the last episode. Apparently that can help Khan's amputation and her prosthetic. Now it'll be interesting to find out what happens if you don't get the crystal, if it's just the same. I'm really intrigued to see what happens differently. So yeah, I'm guessing you were in the majority with me there, mate.
I did have the crystal, so it helped. But weirdly, I was in the minority. Only just, it was 49% of people.
Oh, 54 on PC. That's interesting. We found this in the last one though, didn't we? We found out PC and Xbox players have very different circumstances.
Yeah, looking at my choices here, I am in the majority for the vast of this episode. But this is one of the ones where I'm in the minority, but even then it's nearly a 50-50 split. But yeah, I am actively trying to do all of the side objectives and find all of the things. Partly to get as much out of the game as possible. Also, I've got that achievement hunter's mindset. That it's probably likely that you're going to get achievements for these sorts of things. So, yeah,
for sure. Speaking of achievements, mate, I will say that my achievements actually popped up this episode. I flagged in the last one that I didn't get it. So it's funny. I have got achievements for giving someone a cigar in episode 2, but I haven't got an achievement for completing episode 1. Don't know how it works, but apparently if you go on my profile, that's what you'll find. So it is what it is. There's a lot of nothing choices, mate, and at that, a lot of the choices don't come till the very end of the game, depending on what you give people around the ship, because the structure of this episode is very exploration at the start, and then it ends with the character bits and the dialogue very much. It's like a game of two halves, really. Not even that, 80 then 20% kind of thing. And we get a whole thing with Khan. Did you find her a cigar to give? Did you have a nice ending with Khan at the end there, mate?
I did. And I've got to say, I actually really enjoyed the scenes with Khan. And Khan is a character that, although she's quite nasty and very forward with her words, I like her as a character. Like, she's gone up in my books quite a bit. I like the fact she got that backstory as well. I actually found myself sitting there and like listening to her when she was talking about her husband and the whole thing with the pirates, and how, you know, if she was a little bit quicker because she froze with the gun, you know, she would have saved him. So she's got like that trauma hanging over her and stuff. And yeah, it was just a good way to like penetrate sort of that wall that she's put up, you know, in episode 1, where she's, you know, very evasive and guarded, you know. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed the scenes, and yeah, like you say, got the achievement where you give her the cigar as well.
Nah, that's literally it. I said in the last episode she was the character I liked the least, and not just because she was mean. I just felt she was mean with no reason, and she was begging for this little bit of backstory. And yeah, what I found as well, mate, with a lot of these collectible choices that you say at the end, I have you and 75% of people gifted, 24% people didn't find a cigar, and 1% found a cigar but didn't give it. Now, I found that happened a lot, where someone would go through all the effort of finding the collectible and then they just didn't gift it. I'm like, either you've made a massive mistake there or you've rushed the end. I'm unsure. But yeah, like with this cigar section, it was really cool. I really liked the bit where she has that added feature where her middle finger is a lighter. I don't know if you saw that, but it was just such a cool touch. And what it made me think of was, imagine if Big B from The Wolf Among Us had a prosthetic arm with a lighter finger. I think Big B would be like the biggest fan of that tour. But yeah, I don't know if you enjoyed that, mate.
I did. So it did make me laugh, actually, because I was thinking, what's she doing? And then she puts her middle finger up, and then you just see the light. And I was like, oh, that's class. Like, well, I don't know the character incredibly well, but it felt fitting to who she was, you know? And
100%.
And other stuff with Khan as well that I've got written down here is that I've heard the whole story of her surgery, which I'm guessing is not that important, but it says here that I was part of 60% of people. It's a point I forgot to raise in the last episode, was that I really like the fact that you can like call in to members of your crew while you're walking around environments. It's just a way to get more dialogue and conversations with, you know, the crew, and also to break up them more quiet scenes when you are exploring. And I think that was just it's actually a nice little introduction, just how like the use of the radio in the entire episode.
No, I completely agree, lad. It's a really good feature, and it's one that, you know, TellTale clearly have like improved over the years with, I think. We'll go through a few more of the choices. Before we get to Arlen's medication, I just want to talk about Virgil, and what we'll do is we'll incorporate what we found out about him in the episode. I mean, firstly, mate, did you find his mushrooms?
I did, and I gave them to him as well. Did you?
Yeah, no, it was. I quite liked seeing him like dance in the kitchen, you know, different side of Virgil. Now, one thing I want to say as well is that there's people who, you know, are tuning into this episode fresh and they haven't seen the first one. The way Jack and I left episode 1 is that Jack didn't cut Rayan's leg off, I did, and Jack threw Cox into the brig, and I spaced Cox. So the two major choices we did differently. So this episode here is potentially going to be quite different for us, right? Now, with that said in mind, mate, did you find a bottle of scotch?
I did, yes.
Did you give it to Cox?
I did, yeah, and I got an achievement for it. Yeah.
Nice. Can you just tell me what happens and the relevance of having Cox in your episode, mate?
To be honest, you're probably going to be quite relieved. Not a lot comes of it, genuinely. So, you know, at the very end when you go to talk to Maya, there's like a chamber that you're keeping Cox in. You go up to it and you speak to him, and I gave him the scotch and he took it. And like, considering that I just spared this guy's life, he's been a dick to Drummer. He's like, oh, no thanks to you that I'm in here, and he's just like really bitter and stuff. And she then goes to talk to him about Virgil, and then he just like shuns her off, and you then leave the room. Like, honestly, mate, not a lot comes of it, and that's all you see of Cox. So
Yeah, I was gonna say because like at the end where you can speak to Maya before the end of the game, really, there's that kind of big room at the bottom where she's working, and it's almost like the ornament room, isn't it? Because like there's the brig where you would have had Cox in there, but for me, I've got a big container in the middle where there's obviously a lot of treasure which I got from cutting Ryan's leg off, which I imagine wouldn't have been there in your room. So it's almost like those are the collectibles you get based off of your choices, but it doesn't affect the story. So whether you think that's weak or not, but that's apparently kind of the difference you will see from the 2 episodes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I am slightly sceptical as to how relevant Cox will be going forward, given how how absent he was in this one. There was a couple of times as well where I could radio into him as well, where I found a log as well that basically said that actually Khan owns the Artemis ship, and that's why Cox and Khan were so close, because not only was Khan a good pilot, but Cox had to stay in the good books because she's the one that owned the ship. But yeah, like it is a bit underwhelming. I hope that there is more to Cox moving forward, because otherwise it does make that earlier choice pretty redundant.
Yeah, and it's the same for my treasure. I've got to see if it, I will get something that you don't, because I've got a bunch more, supplies with me, so we'll have to see what happens there. Sorry, but I will switch back to Virgil and Cox with the whole sort of, you can find this hacker cube on your travels. Did you manage to get that?
Yeah.
Sweet. So I actually had my brother who was on the stream with me, and it was really helpful because he was able to tell me what happened in his stream or his game with Cox in it. Now, I just went into Cox's room, right? When, I spaced him so I could walk around. That's where I found the scotch bottle, but I had no one to gift it to, so you just end up putting it back. But, I went onto his computer, but what my brother was saying is because, like, he had to use the cube to get onto it, while I didn't. I think I could just go straight in. And later on, I had to actually use the cube to get into Virgil's computer instead. Now, I wanted to ask you, did you get into Cox and Virgil's computer, or just one of theirs?
I got onto Virgil's, because, I found out his past. Cox's computer, where was it? Was it the desk where he's, like, near the scotch?
Yeah, or in the bedroom after that, and you can find out that he's been spying on, the different crew.
Oh, no, yeah, I did find that out, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a little interesting detail. So it's just nice that, we got to go into that location as well. With Virgil, though, mate, did you find out about his past then?
Did, yeah, and it obviously comes back to something you said last episode where you were a little bit untrusting, you weren't unsure of Virgil. So now that this has been revealed, are you in a position where you're like, well, because of that, I no longer distrust him?
You know what? Yeah, I trust him now. Felicia on the stream said it, they're not going to make a progressive, camp black character a villain. I was like, I mean, yeah, maybe not. Unless I'm being conned, but yeah, I trust him now. It's out in the open. He's got his past where he worked for, the UNN or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, it's out in the open. I'm surprised the reveal came this early. I thought this was, episode full knowledge, But yeah, so whether I like that or not, I'm unsure. We'll have to see. But how about you? Still trust Virgil?
Yeah, there was never a point that I distrusted him, but here's a little theory. If there's anyone in the crew, and this isn't really based on evidence, to be honest, it's more of a hunch. I think it's going to be one of the 2 brothers.
Yeah, I was saying this. Now, what I think will happen, mate, is I can see a story arc happening where one of the brothers will die, and then the other one will be solo, and then the solo brother might go on a bit of a vengeful kind of lose his head pathway. But I can see 2 brothers becoming one, probably within the next episode. I'm not gonna lie, mate.
See, I think it's gonna be a good twin, bad twin thing.
Yeah.
Maybe one of them is good, and maybe one of them is actually in cahoots with someone else. I'm not sure on who it would be so far because, something happened. There was a bit of dialogue. I called into, was it Ryan? I think it was Ryan, and he was saying how Arlen needs this medication, and if he doesn't, that's why he can be a little bit edgy or something like that. And when you come across Ryan in the episode and you give him the reactor masses, he's touchdown. He's really sort of jovial and likable. I'm thinking are they positioning us here to really like Ryan and be skeptical of Arlen, and then what you've ultimately got to do is switch it round. It's actually Ryan that's going to be the one that is the turncoat. So it's an early theory. I feel like we might get a good twin, bad twin thing here. The only
No, I would like that. That would be cool if that happened.
Yeah, the only thing that's doubting that though for me is that about keeping all of the characters alive. Does that mean that you have to ultimately keep a bad guy alive, to get the achievement or whatever? I'm not sure. But then they did say that a character dies regardless anyway, so I'm not sure. It's a little theory that I've got so far, good twin, bad twin thing. But speaking of them as well, and since we're on the topic of Virgil, I've got the choice here where I told both of them that I trusted Virgil. I was in the majority with that 62%. Not that I don't know if that's going to be relevant at all later on in the game, but yeah.
Yeah, literally the same with me, mate. I mean, while we're speaking about the brothers, I think we should divert our attention to the medication. Before we get to the choice, mate, what did you think about the whole storyline of Arlen apparently having this problem with this pixie dust with his shakes?
Yeah, I know. It's good. I feel like that of all the characters so far, it is definitely them two that I feel like need to be explored more. I feel like I've got a good handle on Maya, Virgil and Khan. Obviously Cox is going to be dependent on whether you killed him or not. It is just them two brothers now, so I feel like they will come into it more maybe in the next episode. It's a nice, it sows the seeds, doesn't it? It's a good bit of character depth. It maybe foreshadows things later on, I'm not sure. I'll tell you something, mate. I was exploring, as I do, for a long old time, going in and out of holes in the side of the ships and going around floating up and down in rooms and that. I could not find this medication at all. I found lots of things, but I couldn't find that. I found salvage, other items, but not that. Did you find it?
I did, but with the help of my stream, I don't think I would have found it solo. Felicie thinks it's really poor game design, that it's really well hidden. Yeah, it's one of those, mate, where, in the last episode, one of my biggest criticisms, other than the length, which, I don't actually mind that much anymore, was the fact that you would advance the game without wanting to.
Sure.
This game has it big time when you cut a hole through the ship to get the third and final container.
Right.
Because you don't know that you're leaving the exploration bit at this point. So, my brother was on the stream and he told me, he was like, don't do that until you found everything you want to find, because when you do that, you can't come back here. And I was like, well, I've got the side objective for this medication, so I knew not to advance at a certain point, when apparently so many people go forward at that one bit. So for me, instead, I scoured, honestly, and I couldn't find it. About an hour, maybe less than that, of my stream is just me looking at every nook and cranny. Turns out, do you know where it is now? I'll tell you if you like.
Not a clue. I did find an area where it said the med bay, so I was really concentrating around there. I wasn't finding anything. There was a couple of things, but not the medication. But no, I really don't know, mate. So yeah, go far away.
It is funny because there was one part where I got disoriented and went back through a door of an area I already explored, just the back way of it, and then it said med bay and I picked up some meds. And I cheered, and then it turns out it wasn't anything special. It's something I already examined, and my whole stream just laughed at me. It was pretty funny. Oh god, is it in here? Can I go through? Oh my god, I think I found it, guys. I can go through here. Oh my god, look at this, guys. I think we've done it. I found a hidden room. I've not. I got the. Oh my god.
And why'd they start
No. I just came through the same place. I found drugs. I got really happy, and then I fell for the same trick again. Oh, for fuck's sake. But nah, it's you know where the mag boots are, where you go out on that middle platform.
Middle platform. No.
Yeah, you go back outside the ship, opposite that door, and then yeah, there's just kind of like sort of, it's almost like a T shape, sort of debris.
Oh yeah.
In the middle, and there's these boots on there you can collect.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, fun fact, I had a glitch when picking up those boots. I landed on the side, and I had a weird animation when I picked them up. But all glitches aside, if you're kind of just pointing forwards from where you find the mag boots, if you like forward is north, right, you have to look southeast, and you have to go around the spaceship, and it's hidden on a container on a bit of debris where it's like a box hidden in the corner. It is so well hidden. If you find that without someone helping you out or looking at a guide, honestly, respect, because I had a real tough time finding that.
Really? So much so, it makes me feel like it's significant later on. Really?
Yeah, I mean, my brother missed it, so he was really excited to see what happened differently, because at the end, you get all your collectibles, and when you're giving them to your crewmates, you know, you want to see the relevance of it. And my brother was a bit miffed for me that it turns out that I just... Because, you know, like, Arlen's passed out, and Rayan's, like, looking a little tired, or probably on the drugs as well, I don't know. And he just sort of, like, says, "Thanks, boss man," as you kind of put the meds next to a passed out Arlen, so he gets to wake up to them. So it might have significance in the next episode, but I will tell you now, like, you haven't missed out on much in terms of episode 2. Like, I gave it to him while he's passed out, so yeah, nothing too relevant there, lad.
Or maybe it is just an excuse to, you know, really explore then. Because that's something I will say, and that's, it comes back to that whole thing with episode 1 with length. I don't feel like it's such a problem for me, the length of these episodes, because I really do explore, and I feel like maybe that's what this game is geared towards, is like players like me, players that want to play the main objective and just drift through. They're going to have more of a, you know, an underwhelming time with it, because they're just going to finish it in an hour. I think for me, I was probably playing this for about an hour and 45 minutes. It was probably a bit longer than episode 1. Which was like an hour and a half. But yeah, like I'm not seeing it as much because I'm taking my time.
Yeah, no, I mean, as well for me, like, I guess, like, I was streaming and we were doing the choices together, so it took us nearly 3 hours, mainly because it took me an hour to find this fucking, like, meds for Arlen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I quite like that. Like I say, the biggest flaw for me is the fact it doesn't tell you when to advance, because, you know, you might want to find the side objectives and you might think it's in the next room, but by going to the next room, you've just completely trapped your chances of getting that, you know?
Yeah.
So it is frustrating, but it is what it is. I think we could look at this final choice, lad. So obviously we have this whole romance arc with Maya.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess, like, you know, it goes to that final bit where you can look at the song, which I'm assuming you listened to.
I did, got the achievement, yeah.
Yeah, same here. It's a really nice song as well, actually. Gotta say that. I enjoyed it. I might add it to my playlist if it's on Spotify.
Did you listen to it all the way through?
I did, yeah. No, I loved the song, and I thought, you know, I would chat to my fans as, you know, I went. But yeah, no, we were just vibing to the song together.
Because I was listening to it, and it was going on for some time, and it was only when I knocked, like, my analog stick that it come up saying that you could leave, like, you know, stop listening to the music. So I then hit it, and I was thinking, does that just go on for ages and ages, almost like Life is Strange style, when you just sort of sit down and listen to music? But I didn't realise that it could stop. Yeah, I did.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But regardless though, mate, you know, it leads to this choice where, yeah, like, the lesbian tension becomes too much and she goes back to her room, and you're left with the choice to spend the night with her for some, like, fun lesbian kinky times, or you're like, everyone on the ship's gonna find out, might be bad for business, I better go back to my own room. What did you choose?
Oh, I did agonise over this choice. I did.
I will remind you, you are a taken man. No, I'm kidding. I'm not even feeling that.
I did want to go through with it. I was thinking, yeah, like, you know, let's get them in a romantic relationship. You know, let's see where this goes. But you know what? It was actually before I went to talk to Maya that, you know, you get the opportunity to like have an explore around. I was looking in each person's room, but Maya's door was closed. Every other door was open but Maya's. And I was like, maybe there's a reason. It could be me overthinking it. Maybe there's a reason for it. And someone in the comments in the last episode said, the love interest is always the one that, you know, betrays you and stuff. And it was just in the back of my mind. And because that door was shut, I was like, is there something I've got to be, you know, suspicious about, you know, going forward? Is there something in there that I'm not supposed to see? So when she stopped outside the door and then she was like, maybe it's bad for the ship and that, I was thinking I want to go in there, but I thought maybe it's a more interesting decision not to go in there. So I actually didn't. I went back to my own room, mate. What about you? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so obviously the choices being go in Maya's room, go in your room. I did the same as the last episode, and I decided to space Maya for stealing the barbecue sauce. I won't have any like thief on my ship. Nah, we just like me and my stream thought how hilarious would it be if every episode just ends in me spacing a different person. Honestly, you know, it like I say, what I do is what gets voted, and it turns out not only do we have a bunch of evil people who want to see people's legs get cut off and thrown out in space, there are also a bunch of horny people, Jack. They were straight in there like, yeah, you got to spend the night with Maya, so I did. And that was that. So I do get your point about mistrusting her. I don't mistrust Maya because I had sex with her. No, because I mean, for me, I think they'll kill her off, and I think it will be a ploy of making Drummer angry and Solo and propelling her into the Expanse series, because this is supposed to be a prequel, right? So I think they might do something like that. But no, I'm so fucking glad that we've gone for opposite choices, because I felt like I went very minority in the last one. But it's almost like you've gone minority in this one, and as a result, we again are going to get a very different story, which is just perfect for the channel, mate.
And it was only me and 13% of people that went back to their own quarters.
Yeah, I've got that exact same stat. I was with the 87% against 13%, mate. Very interesting.
Right, because I've got to say, that also crossed my mind as well. Before I made the choice, I was like, Liam's definitely going in there.
For sure.
He's going in there with Maya. So
no, even if the fans said don't go in there, I would have been like, oh, Butterfingers, oh no, I've held on that. Oh no, I've landed up in a room. Oh, sorry guys.
Yeah. So like, as much as it was like, you know, it was sort of intriguing, I was like, nah, go on, I'll go the opposite. I can always replay it and see what happens the other way.
No, for sure. No, I'm really intrigued to see. So, like, my brother as well, and a few other people I have seen, are quite concerned that. So, in the last episode, our choices were: do you cut a guy's leg off? Do you space someone? In this one, it was like, do you sleep with a crewmate? So, it seems to me like the choices were a lot less significant, and the choices in the first episode didn't really have an impact. It sounds like we had a very similar game, other than Treasure or Cox being, you know, down in the basement thing, right? So I don't know, lad, would you say that it's just too early to tell, or would you say that that's a flaw?
I'd say it's fair that, you know, mildly concerning. Maybe the optimist in me wants some of these other so-called smaller choices to maybe prove a difference maker in some way or another. But yeah, like, you know, you might be onto something with the whole they kill Maya off, and that's what brings Drummer into, you know, whatever. But yeah, like, I think until characters start dropping like flies, there's always going to be that level of, I wonder how important this was. I don't know if you're... One other thing, by the way, I don't know if you're seeing this, but like in my playthrough, there was a couple of times when I was like radioing people or, you know, looking at things, they would say, oh, you know, supplies are getting low and this and that. I'm guessing you wouldn't have had stuff like that because you got that, you know, you kept the supplies from the other ship.
Yeah, that's true. And there was also a point where you're like taking out the pirates and, you know, you're kind of on their ship or whatever. And then you get the, one of the, is it Toussaint says to you like, oh, I was expecting to hear from Cox. And I had like a bit of dialogue where I'm like, nah, he got too greedy. And like, I think I referenced killing him off or something. I was like, okay, well, we probably would have had different dialogues at that point, which is a little cool, I guess.
You know what? Think about it. The whole... one thing, you know, almost like coming away from the choices now. Talk about that, like the gameplay elements. What did you think about the QTEs this time?
Yeah, you know what? Obviously a little more challenging because you had the, you know, the gunshot fights, but also like the turret element where some of the, you know, things were really far away visually, and sometimes I had to really squint, you know, and again, it was quite difficult to focus on the stream and chatting to people, and also my cat again jumping in front of the screen. And I actually did fail one, I think, but still fairly easy. I feel like if there is, you know, like you still get enough time to do things. But I certainly failed one quick time event last episode.
Oh, right. So yeah, they were more challenging, and I'm glad that they were a bit more challenging. I mean, don't get me wrong, they were still easy enough for me to pass them all. But yeah, like, even the bit with like the what do you call it? Is it the pirates or like them drones with like lasers coming out? Again,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it like a puzzle sort of part of the game. Again, like a nice point where you got to use your brain a bit. You got to slow down and look at the path of these things. Obviously, use the mechanics of floating around and walking up walls and stuff. Yeah, it was a nice touch and something a little bit different from, you know, other Telltale games where it's maybe you're just more, you know, you're rooted to the floor and you're going around talking to people and looking at things. So that was welcome. I think it's them elements actually that maybe lifted this episode above episode 1.
Yeah, because my thing was going to say, and to kind of start wrapping up this episode, I think to summarize episode 2 for me is, I'd say I enjoyed it more. Like you say, the gameplay was cool. I like the fact that we start off with the exploration and then we had the nice character moments at the end. I actually think that was a better structure for it. However, it does to me, like I recapped on a little bit earlier, it almost seemed like the choices were less significant. It was almost just a nice, more tamer episode, which isn't the worst thing. But it does make me think that potentially we are in for like maybe a chaotic episode 3, maybe similar to how the Walking Dead Telltale was, where we're gonna lose like fucking loads of crew later on, or I don't know. Is that a fair assessment? Would you share it, my one as well?
Yeah, I think so. Given the ending as well, it's like they're gonna, you know, land in another area now, and I think it's going to be interesting though to see, because we've got 3 episodes left, like how much more different can the episodes be. I wonder how long it's going to be before players get tired of walking around the Artemis talking to people and then having a moment where you're exploring a shipwreck and you can pick up objects. I wonder when that dynamic's going to change a little bit or make it different enough so that each episode feels like it's got its own thing. Do you get what I mean?
No, of course. Yeah, no, I completely agree on that sense, mate. And also, I think something will have to change up, because I don't think you can keep using this formula for all 5 episodes, right? So whether we change location, whether the Artemis, you know, like gets some damage, I'm unsure. But yeah, I can see something drastic happening, to be honest, lad.
Yeah.
But yeah, though, to wrap this up, guys, we hope you enjoyed this analysis episode. It's, again, lovely to see that Jack and I have completely picked polar opposite major choices in this. I can't wait to see what happens with Jack's island versus my island now that he has the meds. What happens with the fact that Jack has Cox, but I don't. The fact that, I don't know, I've got loads of treasure on board. the fact that I've slept with Maya and Jack hasn't. There's so many choices we've done differently, and we're only going to find them out in this analysis series. So make sure you stay tuned in 2 weeks where we're going to do that. On the Wednesday where I play the game, and then on the Sunday again where Jack and I are going to compare choices again, if TellTale sort their shit out and, you know, we're actually able to play the game. But nonetheless, guys, thank you very much for joining in. I really hope you enjoyed this analysis series and choice comparison episode.
So if you're listening and you're a TellTale fan, then do have a little dig through our playlists where we've got some Wolf Among Us 2 news or something, and Walking Dead, a lot of Walking Dead Season 1 videos in there as well, while you wait for the next one on Expanse.
Take care, guys. See you soon.
See you next time.